DM HVW. Oh gosh, ow. If I don't knock myself out. Okay, I've got one thing to fix real quick. Thank you for the follow, Anderson Martinez, 4606. I appreciate it. Okay. Oh, nope, that's too much. Okay. Now we're ready. If you'll know anybody who wants to watch narrating and is into this kind of thing, then share this. Repost it. Every time you repost it, it helps me out a lot with having new people join and learn. Got my snacks for later. Got my smoothie I'm working on. Sometimes I do some of these male voices that are like really deep and growly. And it just kind of makes my throat hurt. So I'm trying a little smoothie thing to help. Okay. Chapter 11. Back to the beginning. As Harvey, bless his heart for trying, grasps hands with the young couple and walks through the door, disappearing into thin air before the door closes, Muriel and I sit hard on the unmade bed. She turns to me. Y'all think we should get closer to Fort Bragg to help make this happen? I'm growing tired of being tossed around like leaves in the wind, but I also have a price on my head. She snickers. Y'all sound like an old spaghetti western out of the 50s. It wouldn't be so funny if the sheriff catches up with me. She laughs. Now y'all are quoting the Grateful Dead. I glower. Not so funny if I land in jail and we can't get back. Heaven's sakes, y'all. If I remember correctly, being in or out of jail mattered little when I had that printer guy print those words in the book. True, but consider that if we're not together and only one of us is pulled back to our time. Okay, y'all got a point, but I'm tired of being in this little backwater town. How about we hop a ride back to Fort Bragg, where at the very least there's a little action? Muriel, you're the worst kind of snob. Yes, but y'all love me anyhow. I take a deep breath, feeling exhausted, living as a fugitive in this oh-so-bland past. She's right. Mendocino of the past is extremely boring. Cops or no cops, Fort Bragg has little more to offer. How do you propose we get to Fort Bragg? Cab, bus, heaven's sakes, y'all. I'll hitchhike if that's what it's going to take to get out of this hellhole of boredom. I smile, imagining Muriel out on the highway with her thumb out. Okay, let's go down to the office and see if he can call a cab. Since neither of us has any luggage, we stand, primp a bit in the mirror above the sink, and walk out of the room. When the door automatically latches behind us, I hope, like Harvey, we are transported back to our time. But by the time we reach the bottom of the stairs and the noisy logging operation out in the bay assaults us, I know we're not. We walk over to the bank teller window, and no one is there to greet us. So as not to be a nuisance, I gently press the bell button, and an almost silent ring echoes through the empty lobby. A moment later, a middle-aged woman steps out from the back room. May I help you? She says in a rasp of a heavy smoker's voice. I forgot she has a smoker's voice. Dang it. Let's try this one more time. Hello, Trinity. How are you? You're happy. That's good. It's always good to be happy. Oh, because you hit 100 followers? Awesome. That's always a good feeling. Thanks for following me. May I help you? She says in a rasp of a heavy smoker's voice. I hand her the key to room 1. Can you call us a cab? She snorts slightly, catching herself halfway through the motion. I. It. It could be an hour, not I. You lost me with your question. If you're closing. It could be an hour before they get here. Only one cab comes out of Fort Bragg. Well, that's perfect, y'all, says Muriel, obviously peeved, 'cause I can't wait to get out of here. I glare at her, then turn to the woman. Go ahead and call one. We'll wait in the lobby. She picks up the phone and She picks up the phone and actually dials the number, running her finger around the dial for each number. Except in old movies, I haven't seen anyone dial a number since I was a kid. Although it is another interesting oddity in a long list of such things. I'm sure Muriel is ready for something normal, a computer screen, cell phone, a push-button phone at the very least. I kind of like the old stuff. Muriel and I sit at a small round table next to one of the big picture windows overlooking the street and bay beyond. In the entire hour it takes for the cab to arrive, we say not one word to each other. Not for any reason. Not for any other reason than we are both exhausted with our situation, and the cab ride is at least something to look forward to. The cabbie, a short fellow with a yellow jacket and leather bib cap that says yellow across the front, steps into the lobby. He rushes across the lobby and almost yells to the office lady, "You called a cab?" We are on our feet moving toward him when the office lady points at us without saying a word. He turns and with his loud voice says, "Hell, couple of good-looking dames at that. I love this job." Knowing she's about to rain all over his little frog. Knowing she's about to rain all over this little frog, I grab Muriel's elbow and squeeze. "Where's your bags?" I say in a calm voice. "Back in Fort Bragg. Can you take us there?" "Sure enough, sweethearts. It'll be my pleasure. And 75 cents, of course." "Of course," I say. With a cock-of-the-walk swagger, he leads us to the solid yellow, ancient, rounded automobile, opens the back door, and motions for us to get in, putting one hand on each of our waists as we climb in and slide across the seat. For extra measure, I get a pat on my ass. I get in last, and he quietly whistles that ancient dog whistle so many men used to use to annoy a good-looking woman passing. Oh, he's such a creep. I get in last, and he quietly whistles that ancient dog whistle so many men used to use to annoy a good-looking woman passing. If I was a 40s woman, I'm sure I would take it as a compliment, but I'm not, and it takes every fiber of my being not to turn around and slug him. He slams the door and climbs in front. The engine starts on a dime, and he grinds gears, shifting into reverse. Then, every time he shifts after that, and in the short 10-mile ride, he shifts an inordinate amount of times. I hold my tongue and squeeze Muriel's hand each time she's about to jump down the guy's throat. And trust me, there are so many opportunities. Throughout the entire ride, the guy will not stop talking, and every sentence is some kind of 40s male pickup line. He's a walking cliche. Finally, we cross the Noyo Bridge, Georgia Pacific sawmill to the left with its huge stacks of logs, and a mile down the road to Fort Bragg. "Where can I drop a couple of good-looking dames, anyhow?" I say, "Columbia Motel on Oak Street." "I know it well." He turns right on Oak, grinds his gears into second, and pulls up the street, yammering away at how he could treat us right given half a chance. I'm silent. "Okay, here we are. You gotta go to the store at the corner to book a room." He pulls to the curb and stops, turns towards us, and says, "That'll be 75 cents, though I could forget it if you'll have a drink with me after work. I'll buy." I hand him a dollar bill. "Keep the change." "Wow, good looking and generous. How lucky can one guy be?" He gets out, runs around the car door. He gets out quick, runs around the car, and opens the door on Muriel's side, offering his hand for her to get out. She glares at him. "Touch me again, asshole, and I'll lay you flat out." Her friendly southern accent has disappeared. He pulls his hand back quick. "Jesus, lady, no need to get your panties in a twist. I'm just trying to be a gentleman." She's seething. "Take your gentleman crap and shove it up your ass. Now get out of my way." For the first time since we began our ride, he is at a loss for words. He backs up, giving her a wide berth. She gets out and straightens her skirt. He extends his hand to me as I slide across the street. Seat. Oh, street. Why'd I say that? He extends his hand to me as I slide across the seat. She growls, "I'm watching, dickhead. You touch her and I'll have you arrested." He turns to her. "Arrested for what?" While he's distracted, I slide out of the car and slip around him onto the sidewalk. As she is about to light into him, I grab her arm and pull her toward the corner grocery. She resists for a moment, ready woo, ready to scratch his eyes out, but then gives in to my coaxing her away. She turns her back and we take the 10 steps to the corner and open the grocery door. "He can't get away with that," she says. I whisper, "Remember, dear, it's 1948. They all get away with that for another 40 years at least." That kind of slippery behavior was seen as gallant, at least by most men and a good portion of women. A rotund, classic Italian male comes out of the back room, wiping his bloody hands on what used to be a white towel. With a thick Mediterranean accent, he says with a big grin, "How can a simple man help a couple of good-looking dames like yourselves?" Muriel explodes with a raised voice. "Don't start with me, ass." I grab her hand and yank her out of the store. On the sidewalk, I turn her toward me. "Muriel, you can't react to this." Muriel, you can't react to this. Remember, the cops are after me, and you cause a scene in a small town, and we're sure to be noticed. He can't get away with that. Jesus, Muriel, weren't you listening? They all get away with it for decades to come. This old guard has to die off before things start to change. Yeah, I heard y'all. So, you promise not to throw a fit every time a man comes off with some blatantly chauvinistic pickup line? So, you promise not to throw a fit every time a man comes off with some blatant chauvinistic pickup line? Nobody did this in Mendocino. Yeah, I noticed. But it's not the case in the rest of the world. We have to book a room, and getting all over this guy's ass is not going to help us get that room. She looks at me. Not sure I can hold my tongue, y'all. Maybe I better stay out here. At that very moment, a stripped-down, old-timey roadster rolls past, honking its ooga horn, and the young man driving gives us a wolf whistle. Muriel rushes out into the middle of the street and flips the driver off, yelling, "Fuck you, asshole!" I can see that I can't leave her alone, so I rush out and grab the hand that is high above her head, the one with the extended middle finger, and pull her back to the sidewalk. How about you hold your response long enough so we can book a room? Sorry, y'all, it just galls me. I can see that. Can you hold it for 15 minutes while we get a room? Heaven's sakes. I'll try. With one quick motion, the big black cast iron arms fold in on itself and momentarily crushes the book. In another quick second, the machine unfolds and comes to a halt, ready for the next command. Nothing happens. I look at the little man. What's going on? He shrugs. I don't know. I did the same thing as the times before. I point at the printing press. Let's look at the book. He reaches in, unclips the book, and turns it to me. There's no printing. He looks over the wrong accent. There's no printing. He looks over the leading edge of the book. I printed it. You saw me print. I point at the page. Nothing on the page, though. Let's try it again. He reclips the book and reaches for the ink. Okay, now I know what happened. I used modern ink. He reaches for a small tin above the... He reaches for a small tin above the press on a shelf. Every time before, I've used India ink. He opens the tin, grabs a small roller, and runs it across the surface, then inks the press. All of this happens in the stretch of a few seconds. He pushes the green button, and the machine comes to life once more, quickly folds in on itself, then returns to its original position. A hand is placed on my shoulder. Harv? Okay, this is supposed to be Muriel. Harv? I turn and grab her by the waist. I wasn't sure we were going to get you two back. Are we back? Donna says. What do you mean? Here you both are. Yeah, but not all of us. Some portion of me is still back in 48. I can feel it. I turn to the little printer guy, and his already pallid complexion has turned grayer. 48? 1948? He sits hard on a bench that stretches a few yards along one wall. I turn back to Muriel. What do you mean? Heaven's sakes, y'all. I don't feel fully here. I can still hear the voice of that little Italian grocer. Me too, says Donna. I say, I don't understand. Me either, says Muriel. But I'm not sure how long we are going to be here. I'm feeling drawn back. I turn again at the printer. Let's look at the book. It usually says what's coming. He stands and reaches into the whirring machine, unclips the book, and looks at the page he just printed. He almost yells, "The letters are smudged." I look at his spoken words appear below the smudged block type. The letters are smudged. I ask, can we print it again? My words appear below his. At that moment, Muriel and Donna fade out completely. He flips the page, pulls back the binding almost to the breaking point, flips the book face up, and rotates the large spring clips over the page, pulling the book flat against the printing table. He looks at me. Quick, man, we don't have all day. He reaches up and presses the red button, and the machine begins its long cycle down. What are you doing? Sorry, this whole past has... This whole past thing has me rattled, and I pushed the wrong button. I really can't restart it until the motor is completely stopped. Well, shit. How long's that gonna take? Few minutes. In the meantime, my wife is stuck in the 40s. The little guy stands poised to push the green button, but turns to me. Is she really in the 40s? I don't know. How does that work? I mean, I see that the book has something to do with it, but how? I couldn't tell you. I've known about this whole concept for 48 hours, and so far I'm at a loss. All I do know is it works. My wife and her girlfriend are back there, and a few hours ago, I was stuck in 1958. It's a mess. The motor stops and he presses the on button. The motor cycles up, emitting a high-pitched squeal. He presses the next green button, and the machine begins its slow pass over the book, pressing it flat. Is it Amy or Ami? Brigger. Thank you for the follow. Oh, good. I get a break from boy voices. For a minute. It's another in a long string of weird experiences when I find the now familiar pull of me shifting through time. But this one is different. The pull isn't quite as strong, mushy somehow, like being pulled through honey, rather the feeling of rushing through water like before. I sense Muriel next to me as we're whisked from the grocery store with the little fat Italian butcher, just a few blocks away and 50 years into the future, to the now familiar back room of the little print shop on Oak Street. And yet, we're not fully in one place or the other. I'm standing in front of the ancient printing press, Harvey and the printer guy, and yet I can still hear the little Italian guy chattering in his strong accent. I'm standing in front of the ancient printing press, Harvey and the printer guy, and yet I can still hear the little Italian guy chattering in his strong accent about his meats and cheeses when all we wanted was a room for the night. It's like one moment I'm mostly in the print shop, then the next mostly in the corner grocery. Back and forth, almost with each inhale and exhale. when suddenly we're fully back in the grocery store, being schooled on the best way to serve lamb brains. Obviously, the butcher has not looked up the entire minute we were gone, because his chatter has not stopped. Not knowing if we're going to be transported back to our time anytime soon, I interrupt the butcher. We're looking to rent a room. He stops mid-sentence and looks up, maybe for the first time. A room for two bellissimo unadonas? Muriel scrunches her face, ready to rain all over this guy, and demands, "And what does that mean?" "Oh, forgive me. It means beautiful women." She relaxes. "Oh," I say, "with two beds, if you would." "Startamente." He steps over to the ancient cash register and pulls a book from under the counter. At the moment, he spins the book around for us to sign in. I feel the tug from the future. I reach for Muriel's hand, and we're off into the confusing vortex of what I should be used to by now, but I'm not. Muriel muffles a scream, and in a quick few seconds, we're standing next to that ancient printing press again, with the little printer, Harvey, and the limo driver who catches Muriel as she tries to find her balance. Harvey grins. "Both of you." His words trail off. "And it feels so good," I say. "Quick, before it all shifts, let's get out of here." Harvey points. "But..." The limo driver is a sickly shade of pale. He speaks as if he's seen a ghost. "But you're..." "I'm what?" Harvey says. "Old." I look at my hands, and they've turned into ancient arthritic claws. I look at Muriel, and she's bent over, drawing a raspy breath. Silver hair so thin and wispy, it's almost not there. She looks at me. "We're old, y'all." I do a quick calculation in my head. Mid-90s, if I've got it right. I look at Harvey. "We gotta go back." "Couldn't agree more. Don't know what we did wrong, but we'll figure it out." He reaches over and snatches the book from the printer and closes it. As fast as we appeared in the print shop, we once again appear in the grocery store. I look at my hands, then at Muriel, and we're in our 40s again, where makeup makes sense, not the plastered look of a couple of ancients slathering makeup to hide our ancient lines. Muriel looks at me. "Where did we go, y'all?" I don't know, but I didn't like us there. Oh, I don't know how to do this very well. I feel lightheaded. The door rattles, and my little bell tinkles. I don't know if I can maintain an Italian accent for this POV, but we're going to try it, and we may just have to do a bunch of pickups on it. I feel lightheaded. The door rattles, and my little bell tinkles. I look in that direction as old Mrs. Stein walks in for her daily fifth of gin and a few groceries to cover it up. I can't even say hello. She rushes over. "Are you okay, Tony?" I cross myself. Holy Mother of God, what just happened? I was talking to two Bellas and they disappeared right there in front of my eyes. They disappeared? Like they ran out? No. Poof. Disappeared. She scrunches her face and looks over her rhinestone-encrusted glasses. A bit far-fetched, even for you. It happens like I'm saying. At that split second, right in front of Mrs. Stein and me, the two women reappear. Mrs. Stein's knees buckle. On her way down to the floor, the thin blonde catches her. Not so much because Mrs. Stein is a largish woman. Eventually, she makes it to the floor, but slower. The blonde looks at me, holding on to one sausage arm. I could use a little help. I wipe my hands on the towel I keep folded in under my belly. I race around the deli case and take her left hand. Maybe we pull her to the husband chair. I tug Mrs. Stein across the wooden floor. The husband chair? Bella says as a question. Husbands sit while wives shop. Dove sei andato? Where did you go? You don't want to know. As all three of us tug Mrs. Stein over to the chair, I say, how can this be? You just disappear? I don't know how. I point at her. Santa merda, you're from the future. She blushes. Dang it. She blushes. Polizia is looking for you. You going to turn us in? Not to worry, Bella. Your cosa sta sucedendo. Succedendo. Not to worry, Bella. Your cosa sta succedendo. She looks at her friend who shrugs. She looks at her friend who shrugs. I ask, what goes on? We don't know, but... We don't know, but until we figure this thing out, we need a room. Can you help us with that? I try to wipe the perfume from Mrs. Stein off my hands onto the towel at my belly, but it is so strong. I turn and walk back behind the counter, where I feel safe. I spin the ledger and point to the back of the pencil at the blonde. I spin the ledger and point the back of the pencil at the blonde. $1.02. She shrugs. Bits? I can't help but smile. They really are from the future. $1.50. 2 bits is 2 quarters. She digs in her purse and produces a dollar bill and 2 half-worn Liberty quarters. The other one brings over bread, butter, some crackers, Coca-Cola, and a bottle of rum. Do you have the future money you gave Matt? Matt? Our grocer on Franklin. Oh, balls. I had those flipped. Do you have the future money you gave Matt? Matt? Our grocer on Franklin. Oh, him. I will not show to anyone until you are gone. She reaches in her purse. All I have is a 20. Do you have change? I can feel myself pale. $20 is a lot. She looked at me with the 20 hanging from her fingers. It's all I got, but though it's hardly worth anything in my lifetime, I definitely want change. I hesitate. She slips it back into her purse and puts out her empty hand. Can I have the key? I pull the handle on the cash register and it clangs as the cash drawer opens. I pull a 10, a 5, 2 bits, and 3 pennies. Okay for groceries too. She points at the cash box. I don't know why this says this. Okay, for groceries too. She points at the cash box. How about I trade 5 of the 20 for those 3 silver dollars? I pull the coins and lay everything out on the counter. She hands me the strange-looking 20. I hold it up to the light. What is that little strip going across one side? Said. What is that strange... Dang it. What is that little strip going across one side? The brunette says, some kind of security strip for counterfeit bills. I slip the bills safely under the few 20s I have in the cash box for emergencies, but I swear I have not touched them in months. My wife may kill me for this. The 2 women sign in just as Miss Stein starts moaning. The 2 women sign in just as Mrs. Stein starts moaning. The Bella puts out her hand. Keys, quick, before she wakes up. I hand her the key to her... I hand her the key to room 10, and she and the brunette rush out of the store. Tony, what just happened? I stand on wobbly legs. He reaches out and takes my hand to steady me. Nothing, Mrs. Stein. What do you mean? I saw 2 women appear out of thin air. Trick of the eye. Magic act come to town. The Linden sisters. You hear of them? Magic? Now, I don't know much about men. My lifetime of tears shows it. But I know when one is lying. That much I have gathered through 5 husbands and countless boyfriends before I got fat and chased them all away. And good riddance to every one of them. Through all of that, I do know when one is lying, and old Tony here is lying through his teeth. I play along because what I also know is one lie begs for another if pushed into a corner. So, where did they go? Tony's face gets a bit redder than it normally is. When they disappear? I do not know, Mrs. Stein. I'm sorry it was a shock when they come back. They staying with you? Across the street? I pick up my normal groceries, pay Tony, complain about the price as I normally do as he puts the bottle and 3 oranges in a bag. Then I leave the store. I walk along Oak as the fog starts rolling in, but that's not unusual at this time of day. Really not unusual at any time of day. When I get to Franklin Street, I turn left instead of right and walk the 6 blocks to Cypress and the local police station. By the time I get there, the fog is so thick I almost can't see the streetlight above my head. Just a dull glow illuminating a spot directly below it. I open the door and at the counter is no other than Sandra Bunting, the last good-looking single woman in Fort Bragg. I hate her. She looks at me. Gloria, how are you doing? You still looking for that future woman? She noticeably brightens. You have some information? You got 2 of them holed up in Columbia Motel. 2 of them? I nod. You've seen them? Both of them appeared right in front of me and Tony. I couldn't have been 5 feet away. She has a pencil in her hands, but isn't writing. What did they look like? Blonde and brunette, mid-40s, both good-looking, like we need that. She's still not writing. She turns and reaches for her police-issue bomber jacket. Thank you, Gloria. I'll go over there and check this out before they disappear again. Pulling her jacket over her shoulder, she opens the door in the back and calls for Jason, Marion, and Stanley's kid. Jason, man the front. I gotta go. Yes, ma'am, he yells from the back. He steps out with his carrot top, pimply face, and gangly gait. Mr. Stein, how are you this evening? Fine, Jason. How's your parents? Just fine, ma'am, just fine. I look at Sandra. I'll ride along. Gloria, you know I can. I'll ride in the back. State law says no one but arrestees. Then arrest me. I don't want to miss this. Gloria. She rushes out the front door. I'm down the 3 steps and realize the fog has rolled back in. Nothing unusual, but it is extra thick, which will make it hard navigating the streets at anything but a crawl. I hope I'm not too late. I get in car 3 because it's the most dependable and push my foot on the starter button. I'm so tired. There's just some things that these characters are supposed to say that don't make sense. Like, one of them has an Italian accent. He's saying stuff that I feel like somebody with a thick Italian accent would have trouble saying. I get in car 3 because it's the most dependable and push my foot on the starter button on the floor. The engine slow cranks for a turn or 2, then fires into life. I reach for the column shifter and shift into first, then roll out of the parking lot, maybe seeing 30 feet in front of my bumper. It takes a full 10 minutes to wind the half-mile through the streets to Columbia store. I get out of my car and walk into the store. Tony looks at me. Expecting you, but not so soon. That loudmouth, Gloria Stein. I smile. Don't think she's ever been able to hold that mouth of hers. What room are they in? 10, but they don't do nothing. I'm just going to talk. No arrests? Not unless you're pressing charges. No, no. I walk out of the store and the fog seems to have gotten thicker. I can't see the middle of the street. Not like I don't know where I'm going. I walk across the street to the double row of little bungalows. I go halfway down the gravel driveway to number 10 and knock softly. The curtain slides back slightly, and I hear someone, not Donna, say, Heaven's sakes, y'all, it's the cops. The door opens a crack, while eyes peer out, then swing wide. The door opens a crack while eyes peer out, then swings wide. Sandy, should I be glad to see you? Donna motions me in, and I step across the threshold to the smell of toast. It's one of the smaller rooms in the complex, with 2 twin beds and 1 chair. Donna closes the door behind me, and I stand in the corner with just enough room for her to slip by and take the 3 steps into the kitchen. Come in here and we can talk. I step into the modern kitchen with red formica table and 4 chrome chairs with matching red plastic seats. The fridge is the traditional upgraded icebox with a huge set of coils on top, as with most fridges in Fort Bragg. I look around at the frilly curtains over the single small window, at the formica countertop and porcelain sink. I hadn't had a chance to see the inside of these places since they built them last year. They did a nice job. Donna sits. The other woman leans against the counter, motioning me to sit, and I do. Piece of Wonder Bread toast, y'all. It's all the store had. I shake my head. Piece of Wonder Bread toast, y'all. It's all the store had. I shake my head. Sarah Flanagan over on 5th makes great bread in her kitchen. She's not supposed to sell it without a commercial kitchen, but it's very good bread, so no one says anything. Hi, Darth. How are you doing this afternoon? I saw you for a second earlier whenever you hopped on, but I think you were going through a bunch of different narrator lives. In case you can't tell, I'm kind of stuck in my southern accent. Sandra, this is Muriel. She's also from my time. Got stuck here last week. I nod. Muriel? Y'all here to arrest us? I smile. Feds went back to wherever feds come from, so it's just us. I'm not here to arrest you, but I do have a few questions. Donna opens her hands, palm up. Palms up. Donna opens her hands, palms up. What happened when the feds carted you away? We found the wreck. I was in the back seat and was thrown to the floor. Got a cut on my leg. The 2 men weren't so lucky. Where did you go? I walked to town and got a ride back to Elk. I figured you wouldn't look for me there. No one considered it, though it's where you originally came from. I pause a moment, take a breath, then say, I'd like to see the future. Can you take me with you next time you travel? Trust me, Sandra, you'd be amazed with the technology, but the darker side of the future you would not be able to ignore. But for the life I left behind when I came here, I would stay. Frank, too? Yes, Frank is a big draw, but I've got to go back. That and the feds wanting to lock you up for their own curiosity. She smiles. Yes, and that. Muriel says, Y'all are so friendly and easygoing. Other than the fact that I'm a city girl attracted to the bright lights, I would also stay. But I don't belong here. I just want to go home. Another knock comes at the door. She looks at me. You got the rest of the policy waiting? No one knows you're here but me. She gets up and slowly steps out of the dinky kitchen. I hear her take 3 paces to the door. Before I open it, I peek through the curtain, and it's Frank. I open the door, and he's standing there in his bomber jacket with cowboy hat in hand. I squeal in delight and throw my arms around his neck, then plant a soulful kiss on his scratchy mouth for a long moment. When we come up for air, he says, "I missed you." Me too. Me, you too. What the heck? Me, you too, big guy. I kiss him again. This time I smell horse and cattle, a hint of grease, all of the delightful smells of his ranch. When we take a second breath, I ask, "How did you know you were here?" "How do you know we were here?" He points behind him. "I was having dinner at Sergio's, and Tony sent his son to tell me." "Tony?" "The butcher at Columbia Market." We stand awkwardly, looking at one another for a moment. Come in, come in." "Sounds like you got company. Maybe we could talk out here for a moment." "No, silly, it's cold, and anyhow, I want you to meet someone." He scuffs his boots on the mat at the front door, then steps in. Didn't like that. He scuffs his boots on the mat at the front door, then steps in. I close the door. Holding his rough hand, I lead him the 3 steps around the bed and into the kitchen. When he turns the corner, he's startled. Sandra, with her back to him, twists around, looking at us. "Sandy," he says in a matter-of-fact tone. "Frank," she replies. "You never called." "Sorry, one woman at a time." Muriel, who's facing us, grins. "So, this is the guy y'all been telling me about." "Frank, this is Muriel, my best friend." "Muriel, I see why." He gets a quizzical look. "Why?" "She can't stop talking about y'all." I step over and ready myself to sit next to Muriel. "Take a seat, Frank." He gets an embarrassed look. "Can we talk outside?" "Let me get a jacket." I grab my coat from the bed and follow him out the door into the thick fog. Daylight is fading as he leads me to the middle of the driveway. He turns to me. Excuse me. He turns to me. "Not sure I can go on without you." I get misty. "I've been thinking about you a lot too." He drops to one knee. "I'll follow you to your time, or you can stay here in mine. Either way, marry me." I take a step back. "I can't marry you, Frank." "Why not?" "I'm not divorced from my ex, for one." "I'm not asking you to marry me now. Eventually." "Plus, I don't belong here, and you definitely don't belong in my time." "It seemed to me like you took to country life out on the ranch." "I like it very much." "So come live on my ranch." "What about the feds?" From behind me, Sandra says, "The feds only come out to the coast when we ask them, and even then, they are more than reluctant. I'm sure as long as those bills aren't floating around, we can keep your existence quiet if you wanted to stay." I turn to her. "Thought you had your sights set on this one." I point behind me with my thumb at Frank. "I'd say he doesn't look too interested in me at the moment." I'm silent for a moment. I have a life in my time. "Heaven's sakes, Donna, at this point it isn't much of a life." I look past Sandra at Muriel, standing the 3 steps above us at the door. "It's cold out here, y'all. How about we come back in where it's warm?" Frank says, "So you'll think about it?" Frank is supposed to have a deep voice, and I did not do that for him. Frank says, "So you'll think about it?" As we all file back into the room, I say, "I'll think about it."
Holy shit.
What just happened? The kid says, "That was too weird. Now we got another problem to deal with. Will it ever stop?" I look at the printer. "What did you do different?" "I used a different ink." "Well, let's do it again, and this time use the right ink." "I don't have any, and I'm not sure I can get more." I glare at him. "I bought that ink 20 years ago from a place in Sacramento. I can't even say for sure they are still in business." "Well, hell, let's make some calls." "It's after 6 on a Friday. Even if they're still in business, I'm sure they're closed for the weekend." "Well, fuck, will this nightmare ever end?" The little man shuts the press down and the motor begins to relax. "I'll make some calls in the morning. Maybe someone is open on a Saturday. But even if I manage to get my hands on some ink and we overnight it, it'll be Monday afternoon before it'll arrive." Jesus, what a turd pile. Since there's nothing I can do tonight, can I go home to my family? Give me your phone number and I'll call you in the morning and give you an update. I dig in my wallet and fish out a business card. I reach over the desk and grab a pen from a peanut butter jar full of them. Use my personal number on the back here. The office will just give you the runaround. He looks at the card. Producer of movies? Yep. I motion to the kid for us to leave before the guy starts gushing about movies and asking all of the stupid questions. The kid turns and we walk through the beaded curtain as he asks the first question. "Which movies?" The little bell tinkles as I'm out the door before he can finish. The fog is thick, but somehow refreshing compared to the dense odor of fresh ink. I turn and walk toward the bar. The kid catches up. "What's the plan?" I want a drink, first off, then I'll weigh the options. 1 block along the road and we enter Flanagan's bar. The bar is full, so we take a table, and a chunky barmaid steps over. "What'll you have?" "Bourbon and soda." I point at the kid. "Depends on whether we're staying the night or I'm taking you back to the city." "Haven't thought that far ahead." He looks at the woman. "For now, how about a Dr. Pepper?" The bar is noisy, so I lean in close and yell, "You willing to drive me back tonight?" "You're the boss. Plus, I wouldn't mind sleeping in my own bed." "Okay, it's settled. First, we order burgers and I get plastered. Then you drive me back to the city. Nothing we can do here till Monday, anyhow." The kid smiles. "I'm driving you back up here Monday?" "I'm gonna have to. You're the only one other You're the only other one who knows how this works and won't freak out when the two women, not the other two women." "You're the only other one who knows how this works and won't freak out when the two women suddenly appear." An hour and 3 drinks later, we finish our burgers. I pay the tab, and the kid goes to retrieve the limo. When he returns, I'm working hard on my fourth, and I can no longer feel my toes. He helps me to the back of the car, and next thing I remember, we're crossing the Golden Gate Bridge. Another half hour with a thick head, he walks me to my front door and says, "See you Monday morning." I'm still fuzzy, but manage to say, "I've got a few things to take care of Monday morning. Let's plan on noon." He turns and, while walking back to the limo, says, "See you at noon." I'm in the house and close. I'm in the house and close the door behind me, then feel the emptiness of Muriel missing. It's midnight, so I walk in the dark to my bed and conk out without removing even my shoes. In the morning, while Maria serves me coffee and breakfast and her husband fixes the dripping sink in the kitchen, I'm fielding one phone call after another in the never-ending task of putting the next production together. It's noon before I can come up for air, and the sun dips into the Pacific before I finally turn my phone off and try to ignore the outside world. Sunday is a repeat of the day before, and before I know it, Monday is here, and the kid rings the front doorbell. It's noon by the time Maria hands me a lunch bag, and I walk out the door to meet the kid, who holds the door open. I'll sit up front. He quickly closes the back door and opens the front. I get in as my phone rings once again, and I spin the trip over the Golden Gate, trying to settle 3 nervous investors by reading off the list of actors one more time. I'm so tired of this hand-holding. When, finally, I'm able to get off the phone, I look over at the kid. "Did you call the printer?" He's moving into the fast lane as he says, "Talked to him yesterday, and the ink should be there by the time we arrive." That's good, because I'm ready for this whole mess to be over. The kid glances in my direction. "We gonna wait for 6 o'clock?" "We'll be there by 3. Why wait?" "I don't know. Every other time it was at 6 o'clock. Hate to jinx it by changing anything. You saw what happened when the ink was changed." "You might have a point. How about once we're there?" "How about once we're there, we check with the book? It'll always tell what's going to happen next." "Yeah, the book. I keep forgetting about that." "So, 6 it is?" "Yes," I say as a question. "What's the significance?" Ooh, that was a gurgle. He turns on his turn signal and shifts out of the fast lane. "For one, I can take it a little easier if you're up to it. I know of a nice restaurant north of Santa Rosa. We can have lunch." "Yeah, sure, lunch would be good." I lift the lunch bag. Maria insists that I take lunch every time I leave the house. I think Muriel puts her up to it, and sometimes I'll eat it, but a good restaurant is always better. It's settled then. We go to my favorite restaurant for lunch. 20 minutes later, he pulls off the freeway north of Santa Rosa and drives a mile east along a backcountry road through a valley of grape vineyards. When he pulls off the pavement and into a large dirt parking lot with a dozen cars, we face a modest We face a modest building, reminiscent of buildings I saw in Switzerland last year when I was over there negotiating with the town to do our movie. I should have taken Muriel with me. I vowed to myself that if I succeed in getting her back in one piece, to include her in those kind of trips, and to take a little extra time after the business is concluded. The kid parks, and I look at him. "Are we doing the wine tasting?" "If you want, but more so, my friend is a chef here, and he is really good." "A quick lunch is what you had in mind, right?" "Yes, a quick lunch, but you will be impressed." He gets out of the car and races around to open my door. I've learned with most limo drivers to wait until they open the door, or sometimes they cop an attitude. He opens the door, and I get out into the blazing sun. It's 10 yards to the tall, solid wood, ornately carved front door, and the kid opens it for me. We step inside a darkened entry, or it could be the contrast to the stark sunlight. As the door closes behind me, I feel the rush of cool air and a delicious smell of olive oil and garlic. A young woman dressed in traditional black Swiss empire dress with a white fluffy blouse steps up. "Table for two, gentlemen?" The kid says, "Yes. And can you tell Ramon Stephen Gann is here?" She leads us into a largish hall with massive beams crisscrossing the ceiling and three giant chandeliers evenly spaced. We sit in a booth and she sets menus in front of us. "I'll return in a minute with some waters." She walks off and I look at the kid. "Nice place. Thought you'd like it. It's off the beaten track, but well worth it, especially for the food." The food comes and it is fantastic. The wine, not so much, but one can't have everything. I'll remember this stop next time I'm in Santa Rosa area. This character's voice is difficult for me. Oh gosh, there's still so much of it to go. We reach the end of our meal, and the chef, a small man with a tall hat and a grin, comes out to greet us, holding something behind his back. I recognize the look and I brace myself. Without glancing in the kid's direction, he marches over to me in a rigid gait and bows awkwardly. "How was your meal?" "Delicious," I say, knowing this is not the reason why he's here. "Thank you. I oversaw every step." I'm waiting. "I'm wondering," he stalls. I try for a neutral expression, but I'm annoyed and I'm sure it shows. He brings the sheaf of paper from behind his back and sets it on the edge of the table. "My wife, she wrote this screenplay." He's so nervous, he doesn't finish the sentence, turns and walks away. I look at the kid with a scowl. "You brought me here for this." And the food. I pick up the 100 or so pages in a blue soft cover binder and read the title aloud, but not too loud. Flamenco Flood. How pathetic. Hey, she's a pretty good writer. I heft the folder and set it back on the table as the waitress steps over. "Anything else I can help you with?" "Check, please." The chef's picking up the tab. I get up, pick up the manuscript, and drop a 20 on the table. "Tell him thanks." I'm walking towards the door as the kid falls in behind me. We go through the big doors, and in the parking lot, I turn to him. "Don't pull that shit ever again." "Sorry, but he's my best friend, and—" I cut him off. "Just don't do it." He reaches forward, unlocks the car door. Oh my gosh, I wasn't even recording that whole run. Okay. It's all fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything is A-okay. Totally fine. It's all fine. Don't freak out. That was really annoying, though. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Hi, Tay. How are you? Hi, Sophia. We reach the end of our meal, and the chef, a small man with a tall hat and a grin, comes out to greet us, holding something behind his back. I recognize the look and I brace myself. Without glancing in the kid's direction, he marches over to me in a rigid gait and bows awkwardly. How was your meal? Delicious, I say, knowing this is not the reason why he's here. Thank you, I oversaw every step. I'm waiting. I'm wondering. He stalls. I try for a neutral expression, but I'm annoyed, and I'm sure it shows. He brings the sheaf of paper from behind his back and sets it on the edge of the table. My wife, she wrote this screenplay. Wrong character voice. Oopsie. My wife, she wrote this screenplay. He's so nervous he doesn't finish the sentence, turns and walks away. I look at the kid with a scowl. You brought me here for this? And the food. I pick up the 100 or so pages in a blue softcover binder and read the title aloud, but not too loud. Flamenco Flood. How pathetic. Hey, she's a pretty good writer. I heft the folder and set it back on the table as the waitress steps over. Anything else I can help you with? Check, please. The chef's picking up the tab. I get up, pick up the manuscript, and drop a 20 on the table. Tell him thanks. I'm walking towards the door as the kid falls in line behind me. We go through the big doors, and in the parking lot, I turn to him. Don't pull that shit ever again. Sorry, but he's my best friend, and I cut him off. Just don't do it. He rushes forward, unlocks the car, and opens the front door on my side. I'll sit in the back. He spins and opens the back door. I climb in and settle into a seat facing the rear of the car. I'm pissed. He pulls out of the gravel lot and we're back on the road. A few minutes later and we're climbing up the on-ramp to 101 North. It takes me 20 minutes to calm, but when I do, I realize I'm sitting in the back of this limo with nothing to do except watch. It takes me 20 minutes to calm, but when I do, I realize I'm sitting in the back of this limo with nothing to do except watch TV or drink, and neither sounds good. Out of desperation, I reach over and pick up the manuscript. There we go. I'm 1 minute in, and this thing is good. Snappy opening about a flamenco dancer's ongoing feud with her neighbors. It's an hour drive to Willits, and in that time, I've read the entire story. When we make the left turn going up the hill to the coast and Fort Bragg, I open the barrier between me and the front. Pull over so I can get up front, and I'm tired of you opening my door." He pulls to a stop and turns to me. "But it's my job." I open my own door and get in the front. "Not out here in the boonies, it isn't." He looks genuinely disappointed as he pulls back out onto the highway. Knowing the 30-mile drive is interminable, I say, "Pretty good screenplay." I don't know screenplays, but I do know she is one hell of a I don't know screenplays, but I do know she is one hell of a storyteller. The fact that she is good is the only reason why I'm sitting up front and talking to you at all. That was a pretty sleazy stunt you pulled." He shrugs. I apologize. As he drives around the first of many sharp bends, I look at my watch. It's 4 o'clock, and we've got 2 hours before the printer closes. How about when we get done with this driving mess, we sidle up to that bar a few blocks away and prepare for two women who love to talk to get in the car with us? He grins. "I can't drink on duty, but I won't be in the back with them. You will. I'll have to drink your share, too. It's a deal. If you want, I can turn up the music." "No, it'll be okay. They actually might have some stories to tell." I don't know if it's because I know this young stud doodled my wife, or we don't really have much in common, but the rest of the half-hour drive around one sharp bend after another, we spoke not another word. I could be jealous of his youth and all of that testosterone racing around in his blood, but I'm not. I could be jealous that he's been with Muriel, but I'm not. The fact that she's getting a little on the side, I can only place at my doorstep. Since turning 50, I've not been as interested in affairs of the heart or dick, and I guess I've not been paying much attention to her. The contrast of her not being around is so stark that I commit myself to take more time with her. Oh, come on. We turn right at Highway 1 and immediately go over the No-Yo Bridge. I'm looking at the ocean once again as he says, "I know of another place below this bridge that has a full bar and great fish tacos. Want to give it a try?" "We'll be close to the printer." 5-minute drive." "Okay then, let's try it out." He makes a quick right, then drives down a long, curved, narrow 2-lane to a small fishing wharf you would see along any coast throughout the world. Boats on stilts waiting to be painted, stacks of pontoons, old, beat-up wharf pilings, some intact with a wharf, others just weather-beaten logs sticking out of the calm tidal river every 10 feet. The large fishing vessels moored at the closest end on the opposite side of the river, while the smaller boats are stacked up behind one restaurant after another, lined up against the closer shore. I look at my watch, and it's 4, so we've got an hour or so. He pulls into a lot at the end of the line of buildings, and up close to the building with a large sign saying Silvers. We climb a flight of We climb a flight of stairs and walk first into the bar of the restaurant with 3 sides of the building filled with huge plate glass windows overlooking the river and inlet from the ocean with the no-yo. Also, that sentence is entirely too long. We climb a flight of stairs and walk first into the bar of the restaurant with 3 sides of the building filled with huge plate glass windows overlooking the river and inlet from the ocean with the no-yo bridge overhead. He orders a Coke and 2 fish tacos. I don't want to ruin my high with food. I order a White Russian. I'll eat later. We're sitting at the Horseshoe Bar with the good-looking female bartender serving a dozen other happy hour revelers, either waiting for a table or another drink. The entire scene overlooks the tidal river with an occasional fishing. The entire scene overlooks the tidal river with an occasional fishing vessel coming in from the ocean. A tall cowboy type in his 60s who sits across from us says, "You here looking for Donna Hendricks?" I look up from my second Russian. Well, yes, in fact we are. And her girlfriend Muriel. Why, you know something I don't. He gets off his stool, steps around the bar, and sits one stool away from me, then leans in close. "I'm Sheriff J.R. Sanders, and her disappearance landed in my lap twice now." "Twice?" "Once a few weeks ago, and once when I was a kid working in the Mendocino Hotel." Mendocino Hotel. He leans in closer and whispers, "I looked Donna Hendricks up, and her name shows up in 1948 for several days. Then not again until 1958 in Mendocino, where I was a waiter in the Mendocino Hotel, and you gave me a $50 tip. What do you make of that?" "I really don't know, officer. It's a surprise to me. Thing is, and it's the reason why I recognized you, I have this gift or curse, I'm not sure, but I remember faces, and I remember you sitting on the veranda of the Mendocino Hotel in '58, and you were there with Miss Hendricks, probably your wife with her southern drawl, and a young couple I didn't recognize until the other day when I saw them in Elk. And who can forget that 50 that sent our whole community into a tailspin because it was from now, then 40 years in the future." "Then 40 years into the future." "You were there?" "I was 14 at the time." I say, "For me, it happened 3 days ago. Literally." He rubs his 2-day-old graying beard. He rubs his 2-day-old graying beard. Oh, I'm losing my voice. No. Okay, maybe I can do it now. He rubs his 2-day-old graying beard. "So, what are you doing here?" "We're here to get both Donna and my wife back to now." "How do you plan on doing that?" I look around to make sure no one is listening, then lean in close while I pull the little red book from my pocket. Something about this book has not only created this whole mess, but also we have found a local printer who can get them back to now for a few minutes at a time. Hi, Amber. But also, we have found a local printer who can get them back to now for a few minutes at a time. I've come up with one more plan to get them back permanently. I look at my watch. and that will happen in an hour and a half, give or take. Mind if I tag along? Now, what am I supposed to do? Say no to a sheriff? I'm sure he's asking nice, but I say no, and he'll pull one of his sheriff tools and come anyway. Since we're at the friendly request stage, I say, sure, but I have to warn you that part of the plan is to spirit them far away before the ink dries in the book. And the book. I spend the next hour trying my best to answer his battery of questions, but since I have no idea how it works, I can't go any further than what I've experienced firsthand so far. I'm working on the third Russian to his half beers. I'm working on the third Russian to his half beer he's been nursing this entire time when I look at my watch. It's 10 to 6. We better get over there. Over there? To the printers. You're not driving, I hope. I grin as I stand slightly unsteady. No. I point over to I point over my shoulder at the kid watching football on the big screen at the back of the bar. I've got a driver who's sober. I grab the book, put it in my pocket, drop a 50 on the bar, and tap the kid on the shoulder. It's time. He finishes off his Coke and stands, then follows me and the sheriff out the door, down the stairs, and beats me to the car, opening the back door for me to get in. I turn to the sheriff. Over on Walnut Street. He says, I'll follow you. I get in the limo, and the kid rushes around and gets in the front. He starts the engine, as I regret not having anything to eat. I roll the partition down. You got anything to eat back here? Small drawer under this partition, there are some snacks. Partition, partition. Small drawer under this partition are some snacks. I open the drawer, and it's full of small bags one might find in a vending machine. Pretzels, nuts, potato chips. I grab a bag of nuts and dump a mouthful, along with a small box of raisins. I've got 10 minutes to get something in me before Muriel shows up with what I know to be her judgmental scowl. The 5-minute ride to the printer is not enough time, but by the time we've arrived, I've downed 2 bags of nuts and working on a Snickers bar for blood sugar. I get out of the car, still unsteady on my feet, and walk toward the front door of the print shop. The shop is closed, of course. I do see one small light in the back, and I tap on the glass with one knuckle. No one stirs inside, so I give it a more aggressive knock with my whole fist of knuckles. A light brightens the shade, and the door rattles as it opens. That annoying bell tinkles overhead. The little printer says, "Come in, quick." The 3 of us file into the front office, and he closes the door. "You brought the law?" "Hello to you too, Jacob." "JR, I'm doing nothing wrong here." "I know. I'm not here in an official capacity. I'm just here to witness." He noticeably relaxes. "Okay then, let's go in the back room before some late customer wants some last-minute copy." Standing in front of the big iron press, Jacob, and I didn't know his name until now, puts out his hand. "You want the same words?" I hand him the book, open to the first blank page in the middle of the book. Same words, new ink. "The ink came in this morning, and I already loaded the canister, so we should be ready." He loads the platform with the book, snapping the pages back with the 2 metal straps. "Okay, let's see what we got this time." As the motor comes up to speed, the sheriff asks, "This time?" Last try, the 2 women came across old, but Last try, the two women came across old, but that was with the wrong ink. How many tries? If you count the one in Sausalito, 5 so far. Okay, you ready? Jacob says. I nod, and he presses the green button. Whew. I'm going to take a little bit of a break for a minute. Okay. It's starting to warm up in here now. Luckily, I'm able to cool my booth down to like 60. It was on like 65 earlier, but now it's probably like 75 or something similar. Let's see if I can. There we go. That's a little better. Okay, thanks for joining me. Let's see if anybody's on YouTube. Usually not. But maybe. Yeah, I'm the only viewer on YouTube. I do stream to YouTube. I'm thinking about also streaming to Twitch, maybe. I don't know. Okay, let's see if we can do Frank's grumbling little voice now. I'm sitting with these 3 women at this cramped little kitchen table when Donna's friend says, "We got some beers from the store, y'all. May as well have a little happy hour while we wait." Wait? Donna says, "Muriel's husband is supposed to take us back in." She glances at the clock on the wall. 45 minutes, around 6. I want that to be more of a trail off. Muriel's husband is supposed to take us back in. She glances at the clock on the wall. 45 minutes, around 6. Donna's friend spins on her seat and opens the fridge. The heck was that? While I'm reeling from the fact that Donna may disappear forever, her friend produces 4 chilled beers without labels and with wire-clad, resealable caps. None for me, Sandy says. I'm still on duty. In fact, I have to get back. She stands and looks at Donna. Hope you decide to stick around. She looks at me. See you around, Frank. With that said, see you around, Frank. With that said, she takes the one step it takes to exit the kitchen, and with her police-issue boots, I hear her clump across the cabin floor, open, then close the front door. Donna's friend grabs a bottle and is ready to open it, but I put both hands up in a stop motion. If this is Old Man Flanders' beer, then it's better to be opened over the sink. I grab the first bottle and stand, then rotate and take the one step to the sink. While holding the ceramic cap, I slowly rotate the wire and the bottle erupts, spewing foam that could have been everywhere, but since my hand is over the cap, everything goes into the sink. When the bottle finally settles, I rinse it with tap water and hand it over to the table. Heaven's sakes, y'all, there's nothing left. I grab the next bottle. You don't need much of Old Man Flanders' beer. Flander. I forgot the L. You don't need much of Old Man Flanders' beer. She takes the bottle and lifts it to her lips. Then, as she takes the first swallow, she and the bottle blinks out of existence. I look at Donna, and she is already gone, and I'm standing alone in this kitchen with a bottle in my hand and a knot in my stomach. I sit back in my chair, careful not to disturb anything in the kitchen, so when they return, no one reemerges without a chair to sit on or a bottle of beer sticking out of their wrist. I wait for a half hour, then an hour. Finally, I get up and turn on the radio to listen to Fibber McGee and Molly, something I never miss. The knot in my stomach turns to a dull ache as the half-hour program finishes and the radio turns to a selection of smooth classical music. For the next few hours, I sit, then remove my boots and lay on the bed, expecting, no, hoping, that Donna returns. The next morning, I awake as dawn breaks, but no Donna. I've got to feed the animals, so I slip on my boots, leave a note with my phone number, and go out to my truck in fog so thick even my headlights don't seem to pierce. I pull out onto Oak and feel my way along. Not across. I pull out onto Oak and feel my way along the street with my window down so I can see the center line next to the truck. I know there's a stop sign somewhere, but I never see it. I'm already halfway into the intersection at Highway 1 before I turn right and slowly follow one familiar object after another as they come into view less than. Come on. Tonics. I'm already halfway into the intersection at Highway 1 before I turn right and slowly follow one familiar object after another as they come into view less than 20 feet from my bumper. There's no time. This is no time to try and get home. Better I wait out the fog at Maria's. I pull over at the far end of town and park. One car creeps by as I navigate the thickness across the street, listening for another rather than try and see it coming. I reach the sidewalk and step up. I reach the sidewalk and step the 2 steps up into the building, more than ready for a cup of coffee and some breakfast. There are 5 customers and Gloria. I find a place at the counter a few seats away from Joe Peck, local mechanic. Hey, Joe. Frank? Gloria, big smile for me, steps over with a glass pot in hand. I flip the cup and she pours. How you doing this morning, Frank? Not yet fully awake and really not in the mood to ward off Gloria's flirtations, I give her a grunt and pick up the creamer. Same as always, Frank? I nod and take my first sip. This is worse than having a mate die on me, because I know she's still out there. I'm not. Because I know she's still out there. I'm not sure how I'm going to go on without her. Heaven's sakes! Y'all really want to stay in Hickville in these desperate times? Tall, dark, and handsome, pops the next beer in the sink, then hands it to Donna. She takes a sip. You weren't in San Francisco. You weren't in San Francisco. You didn't see the clean, uncluttered streets and fresh air. I do like it here without the pollution, without the congestion. And him, I point with my thumb as he pops the third beer. Yes, and him. Frank takes a single step and sits. Does that mean you want to stay? She looks at him with misty eyes. I do want to stay. I'm just not sure if I can. I don't think Harvey can pull just one of us over. I think to get Muriel back, I'll have to go with her. Maybe you'll come back. Maybe, but I'm not sure how. He reaches over and takes her hand. I'll wait. It's all very romantic. All right, we got a Muriel, a Donna, a Frank. Okay. Jacoby, Donna, Frank, Muriel, Donna, and then we're done. Oh, we're so close to being done. Yes. Okay, chapter 11 is done. Chapter 11 ended up being 1 hour and 5 minutes. It'll be a little bit more than that. There'll be another minute or two added after I do pickups and make sure that the time spacing is correct between each POV change and it has the right amount of space between at the beginning and the end of the file. So, but the raw chapter 11 is done and ready for the editing stage. Get rid of 11. We'll go into 12. And we're doing some girl voices, which is good because I need a break from the guy voices. Chapter 12. We're back. As if someone changed scenes in a movie. 1 second, we're sitting in the tiny kitchen in 1948, and the next, we're falling on our asses against the cheap tin of a modern printing machine. Harv, the printer, and some strange cowboy type is standing over us. Harv puts out his hand and helps me stand while the cowboy with a pale face helps Donna to her feet. First thing I say as I'm being pulled to my feet is, "Whatever y'all do, don't close that book." Harv pulls me into his arms and tries for a kiss, but it's been so long I've forgotten how to kiss him, and we end up pecking each other halfway on the lips, then, having missed the opportunity, smooth into a hug. "I've missed you," he says. Having not heard those sentiments in a long time, I can't remember how to respond, so I hug so much longer than I feel comfortable. I look at Donna as Cowboy is getting her to her feet. She also is stunned and looks as pale as I feel. Heaven's sakes, we've got to get out of here, y'all. The printer unclips the book from the machine and carefully holds it open to the bold typeface and hands it to Harv. Then we rush to the outer office. Then we rush to the outer office and outside into the thick fog and waiting limo. The printer unclips the book from the machine and carefully holds it open to the bold typeface and hands it to Harv. Then we rush to the outer office and outside into the thick fog and waiting limo. The cowboy stands at the curb as we pull away down Oak Street to Highway 1, over the bridge, then left onto Highway 20 and away from the weirdness, away from 1948. We are far beyond the building hills and deep into the endless sharp turns of the Coast Range Mountains before anyone says a word. Donna finally breaks the silence. So, we're going back to our lives? I look at her. Don't know about y'all, but I can't wait to get back to something normal. Right now, what we have left looks more normal than what we are going towards. Except y'all are rich. Rich? Harv asks. I hit the highlights of the move she made while in San Francisco with the cowboy hunk, and Harv looks at her. Donna, I didn't know you had it in you. She frowns. Let's not count our chickens yet. I have no idea if my certificates are going to match up with the current records. Unlike what happened last Unlike what happened this last week. I have no idea if my certificates are going to match up with current records. Unlike what happened this last week, the ride home was eventless. I found myself curled up, head in Harv's lap, asleep until we hit the Golden Gate Bridge. Then I'm awake and watching the lights and traffic. It must be 11 o'clock at night, and traffic on 19th Street is still locked up. It takes another hour to get back to Daly City. We drop Donna in her little red book that she carefully holds open, then on to our house 3 blocks away. When they drop me, I'm not sure I want to re-enter the home I've known for 22 years. I'm not sure I want to dredge up all those memories that seem so far from the exciting life I experienced the last few weeks. I get to the front door, and before I go in, I almost call a cab to take me to a hotel. I look in my purse for the phone number in my wallet, but it's gone. I trace back in my mind when I last saw the wallet, and I remember paying for the room and beer. All I can think is I might have left it on the kitchen table at the Columbia Motel in 1948. At least I still have the investments, but I'm still not sure if they're going to bear fruit. Except for some loose change in the bottom of my purse, every penny I owned was in that wallet. A cab ride and a night in a hotel is out of the question. So I unlock and open my front door. Felix, my cat, rushes past me with feigned indifference, as cats often do if one is gone too long. It's like if left alone, they revert back to their wild nature. I start to cry, which quickly turns into a bawl. I sit on one of the 4 bar stools Bill had so adamantly pushed on me 20 years ago and cry for the lost 20 years. I cry for what I went through and for what I left behind. I cry for what I'm stuck with and the destitute life Bill left me. I brush my teeth crying, change into my pajamas crying, and climb into a queen bed Bill and I bought a week before he packed it all in and flew to Jamaica, or was it Tahiti? I don't remember, the bastard. I don't remember falling asleep, but I must have, because the sun burst through my bedroom window, something I greeted every morning with joy and anticipation for the coming day. Since Bill left, the sun is just another annoyance, like the endless bills he left behind. I struggle to get out of bed, take a long soaking shower, and slowly prepare for the day. At the kitchen table is the one bright light in an otherwise anticipated dull day. I pick up the envelope, remove the handwritten note from Frank, and feel a little brighter because of it. I look up the stockbrokers and find one a few miles away on 19th. If I knew for sure that this stack of certificates I possess are even valid, they're so old, I'd call a taxi. But I'm broke, so I don't. and instead walk to the bottom of the hill, then halfway down the block to the bus stop. Once on the bus, it is a half hour of start and stops with traffic and picking up passengers. Finally, we get to Mission Street, then another half hour to John Daly Boulevard, where I get out and walk. Finally, we get to Mission Street, then another half hour to John Daly Boulevard, where I get out and walk a half block to Jacob Epstein Brokerage. It's a single glass door, no frills establishment, with a simple, well-scripted design directly on the door in gold letters. It's a single glass door, no frills establishment, with a simple, well-scripted sign directly on the door in gold letters. I open the door to a single desk in the center of a small room with a desk lamp. A small, very young man with a full black beard and a Jewish yarmulke on his head looks up from his task. As the door closes out the noise of traffic, he stands and asks, "May I help you?" I almost turn and walk out, looking for a larger establishment, but his friendly demeanor is curious, so I ask, "I have some old stocks I inherited, and I'd like to know if they're still valid." "Old?" "1948. Do you have a certificate with you?" I open my big purse and pull out a manila folder and hand it to him. He opens it and adjusts his glasses. "IBM. This certificate is for 50 shares. How many of these do you possess?" 18, give or take. "Please have a seat." I look behind me, and there's a folding metal chair sitting next to the door. He sits, reaches over, and clicks his keyboard. The TV-style monitor turns his face pale in the dim light of the dinky office. He clicks a few keys for a while, waits, then clicks more keys, and waits. This goes on for a minute or two before he looks up. "Well, I can't confirm that this certificate is valid or not. Not everything has been transferred over to digital, but I can tell you, as of today, a share in IBM is worth $197.55. "Oh," I say, a bit disappointed. I was expecting more. He brightens. "It's not how much a share is worth. It's how many times a company is split. Each time it does, your 50-share certificate becomes 100 shares. And over the decades, IBM has split countless times. I can't give you an exact number at the moment because this computer has bogged down once again, but I'm guessing that this one certificate could be worth 500,000 or more." I blush. "Really?" He nods. "Can I take down your share number and phone number and let me do a little more digging? I'm sure in a day or two I can come up with a confirmation of the validity of your shares and an exact number of how many shares you own." "Yes, please. I would like that very much." He pulls a sheet of paper and copies the certificate number, then looks up. "Can I have your name and phone number?" Once written, he says, "Let me do some research. I should have an answer by Wednesday." "Thank you, Mr. Epstein. You're very kind." "Ma'am, this is my business. I will be charging you $75 an hour for my time, but only if these stocks are valid. If they are not, which is highly unlikely, I won't charge. Does this suit you?" "This suits me very much." He slides the certificate into the manila folder and hands it back to me. "Please keep these in a safe place." "I will. Thank you, Mr. Epstein." He pulls out his hand to shake. "Call me Jacoby." I take his hand and give a tentative squeeze to equal his soft grip. Jacoby, I'm Donna. I will call you Wednesday. I smile, turn, and walk out of his office onto the busy street, elated with the news. I could be rich. I could be filthy rich. I turn downhill toward Mission and the bus stop. Hi, Cindy. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. How are you doing today? I turn downhill toward Mission and the bus stop. It's going to be a long wait until Wednesday, but for now, I have something to look forward to. Good, I'm glad you're great. He said, how do you start, girl? What do you mean? Can you be a little more detailed on your question? Oh, how to start narrating? Um, Technically, anybody can just start. You don't have to go through any kind of like certification or anything. But I will say that you have to figure out what you, um, if you have time for it, and because it does take a long time. If you're really being super productive, it takes like 2 hours of work to produce 1 hour of audiobook. So a 10-hour audiobook will take you 20 hours at best. Normally it takes longer than that because, especially if there's like a bunch of dialogue and hard pronunciations and all of that. So that's the first thing. Some people start doing it as like a side hustle and they struggle because they don't really have time. And then you also have to be able to sit still and be very, very quiet whenever you sit still. And that sounds really simple, but a lot of people, it's harder than it sounds. A lot of people struggle with that. And you're by yourself a lot and kind of like you're locked in a padded room, basically, because sound booths are like a padded room. So if you can do all of that, then you can start down the path of becoming a narrator. And there's a website called Narrator's Roadmap that has tons of information. It says narratorsroadmap.com, and it has so much information about like how to get started, coaches you can hire if you want to hire a coach to help you be better, events that you can attend that are, to learn more about narrating and get support if you do start the journey. So it's a very inviting atmosphere. Everybody else that's a narrator pretty much, I haven't encountered anybody that's been rude or mean or anything like that. Everyone's super positive and welcoming. So I would start there and figure out kind of where you are in the journey, because everybody starts at a different stepping stone for the journey to become a successful narrator. And I will say from my experience, I come from a marketing background. So like I do a lot of my own editing because I've done a lot of audio and video editing in the past. I'm comfortable with the programs. So it took me a little bit to learn how to edit my audio files for audiobooks, but I feel a lot better about that. And I'm doing all that on my own. If you don't know how to do that, then you may have to look at options for like hiring somebody to do that part for you, which takes money. So if you can do stuff for yourself, then you can start for free. You can just start auditioning. You can start learning. But if you need to learn some things like that and you don't want to put any money into it, then you got to make sure you can do those parts too. Does that make sense? If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to ask them. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Because if something doesn't make sense, I want to make sure that I explain it correctly. I dig in the bottom of my purse for 2 quarters, just enough to get back home. I get on the bus with a few dozen others going up Mission. I'm in such a daze, I almost miss my stop. The walk uphill is a blur, and once back home, I call Muriel. Donna, my dear, how are y'all settling back in? I'm not. I don't like my life here. Oh, sweetie, I don't like the sound of that. Y'all aren't going to go and close that book, are you? No, not yet, but I've been thinking about it. Anything I can do for y'all? I need to borrow some money. Sure, sweetie. How much? 500 to get me through this next week. I'll have a check here for you. That's one thing I like about Muriel. Money is no object. Now her time is a whole other matter. Can you drop by some cash? I don't have enough to take a bus to the bank to... I fumbled that. Can you drop by some cash? I don't have enough to take a bus to the bank to cash your check. Sure, sweetie. I'll be going into town in the morning. I'll pull some money out and drop it by around noon. Into town to her means downtown San Francisco, probably to do some shopping like we used to. She's definitely a city girl. I, on the other hand, long for a slow ride up Frank's Canyon fixing fences, picnic in a meadow, listening to the silence. Guess I've changed. Thanks so much, Muriel. See you at noon or so, then. Thanks so much, Muriel. See you at noon or so, then. I love you, Donna, my girl. The phone clicks. I look at it and smile. She never came close to the L word before. I guess the trip to the past has also changed her. I hang up the phone and go on about my day, whatever that means. I wander the house like a trapped animal, deep cleaning like I'm a maid. It's crazy, but at least I have something to do. By nightfall, I'm exhausted. After a simple 2-egg omelet for dinner, I fall asleep on the couch with the TV on, the place I feel most comfortable once that sleaze of a husband left me in the lurch. By noon the next day, I'm antsy as a caged animal, looking at the clock every 10 minutes, waiting for Muriel to show. I need to get out, but there's nowhere to go without cash. When she finally pulls up and the limo driver lets her out of the back, I force myself to sit in the kitchen and wait for her to ring my front bell. I've dressed for the occasion with my light blue skirt and white blouse and a colorful scarf loosely tied around my neck. Oh, that's a really long sentence. Ugh. I've dressed for the occasion with my light blue skirt and white blouse and a colorful scarf loosely tied around my neck to hide the telltale signs of age with a slight sag of neck skin. God, I hate growing old. Once she rings the bell, I'll walk slowly to the door and open it. Once she rings the bell, I walk slowly to the door and open it with a smile, trying not to show my desperation. There she is, decked out in a fresh summer dress of blue and red flowers, jewelry to the max, full makeup, and a fresh perm. Open arms, we hug, and I say, "It's so good to see you. Y'all are doing okay? You got a few minutes? I've got good news. For you, sweetie, I've got the rest of the day." She follows me into the living room that I spent an hour on this morning in anticipation of her arrival. Something to drink? Well, it's too early for happy hour, so I'll have a little lemonade if y'all have some. I made a fresh batch this morning, knowing she would request it. I step into the kitchen and look over the counter at her as I get the pitcher out of the fridge and pour 2 glasses. How is it back in your time? Fantastic, y'all. I sure did miss the action. Harv's paying more attention to me, too. He even took me to a concert downtown on Saturday, and y'all know how much he hates concerts. He's planning on taking me out to Seinfeld's tonight. No, Sheffield's. I don't know why I said Seinfeld. That's dumb. Hello, ML Cobb. He's planning on taking me out to Sheffield's tonight. The guy's a changed man. I pick up the 2 glasses and walk them over to the overpriced glass coffee table that bastard bought last year and left me with the bill. I set them on the glass without a coaster. Sheffield's, wow, he's really putting on the dog. He's a changed man, I'm telling y'all. Oh, before I forget, she opens her purse and pulls an envelope, then hands it to me. There's a little extra. Harv and I agreed that this is not a loan, but a gift. I feel the thickness. Unless it is all 20s, there's much more than 500. Thank you, Muriel. I can really use this now, but I have some good news. She takes a sip and puckers slightly. More sugar? No, just more good news, y'all. I sit next to her and start in on the long version of my good fortune, saving the news Jacoby gave me for last. When I hit her with the actual news, she grins. Sounds like y'all's gonna be rich after all. Only if it matches with some moldy old ledger from 50 years ago. Hi, Liz. The first week back on the ranch is empty. I feel, once again, that my heart has been ripped out of my chest and lay in the mud, still beating, but cold and careless. I tend the animals, but without my normal gusto for the life I've built. Really, the only place I feel anything is in the air, flying down the coast or east over the coast range, and so, for the next month until this deep feeling of loss dissipates, I find myself in the air every chance I get. Fortunately, the roundup is upon me, and the herd takes much of my time getting them tagged, in the trucks, over to Hopland to auction. By the time I'm finished, the month has gone by, and though I expect Donna to appear any time, fortunately, the roundup is upon me, and the herd takes much of my time getting them tagged in the trucks over to Hopland to auction. By the time I'm finished, the month has gone by, and though I expect Donna to appear any time, the pain of loss has lessened, and I'm able to get out of bed each morning without forcing myself to my feet. I'm still at a loss, but I feel once again a hint of the excitement of my life. I'm ready for the morning when I wake. I'm to my feet and making coffee with a hint of excitement. The phone doesn't ring except for the regular reasons, but each time I'm there to pick it up. I hope beyond hope it's her calling from town for me to pick her up, but it's not. The second month is easier, and the third. Alrighty. right. Oh, gosh. Here we go. We're on the home stretch. Scan this file. Fix all those weird pauses. Save. Get rid of it. We go to chapter 13. Jacoby. Okay. Welcome, welcome. We're finishing up the last 2 chapters in a book. And we should oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. Okay. The story is wrapping up in a really ridiculous way. Welcome back, Darth. How's it going? Okay. Oops. Chapter 13. The Broker. A middle-aged, slightly malnourished woman opens the door of my first office. Father rented for me 3 months ago. He wanted me to stay on with him in the firm, but I've never been happy under his thumb. A middle-aged, slightly malnourished woman opens the door of my first office father rented for me 3 months ago. He wanted me to stay on with him in the firm, but I've never been happy under his thumb. Not that I don't love my father, it's that I want to make my mark in this world, and this dinky office in Daly City is a good beginning. She walks in, looking disheveled and confused. In another time, in another mood, I would have turned her right around and escorted her out of my office. But clients have been few and far between, so I keep my thoughts to myself as she nervously tells me why she's here. When she pulls out the old certificate, seemingly on fresh paper, my first thought is it's a forgery. But having never seen an IBM stock But having never seen an IBM stock certificate from so long ago, I refrain from comment and look up the stock on my painfully slow computer. When it finally comes up, except for the new paper, everything about the document looks real. I hide my suspicion and tell her how much the stock is worth. She looks downtrodden. I then guess how many times over the last 50 years it has split, and how each split. Once she realizes how much the one certificate is worth, her attitude uplifts. After I promise to look into the validity of the stock, she leaves and I take a breath. If she has 18 of these and they're real, which is highly unlikely, she just might be a very rich person, and I may have landed myself a big fish. Only time will tell. Because there is no computer data from that far back yet, I'm going to have to drive south to Silicon Valley, to IBM, to check the validity of her claim. And I need to do that quickly, because she looked desperate enough to go find someone else with a bigger office, a newer computer, and the manpower to find results quick. I close my computer, lock the front door of my office, walk the half block to my parking lot, and get in my newish Toyota. Then spend the rest of the day fighting traffic and dealing with the highly Sabi and Sora, is this your job? Like you get paid to do this? Yes, it is. I get paid to narrate audiobooks and produce audiobooks. That's awesome. How did you get into that? Everybody gets into it maybe a little bit differently. For me, I used to be in marketing and I have loved reading my entire life. And I had a bit of a shakeup last year and left my marketing job and just wasn't super thrilled with it anymore. So I decided kind of on a whim to see what this whole narrating thing was about and if it was even possible to start narrating at this point in my life. So I did a bunch of research at the end of 2024, and in January of this year, I started ordering my equipment and doing auditions, and I've started landing work. I have 4 audiobooks that are on Audible, available on Audible right now, that I have linked on my profile. And then I have 5 books in production right now. So I'm finishing one. Hopefully, I'll have it done and sent to the author to review by tomorrow. And then I have 4 more to put out. So we're rocking and rolling. And I've learned that it is feasible, but I still have a lot to learn. It is really cool. If you've heard of imposter syndrome, that's what I'm dealing with. It's I know that I do good work and I know that my authors are really happy with the work that I do, but it doesn't feel like this is something that I should get paid to do. It doesn't it's very, too good to be true kinda feeling like I'm not qualified for this. I just decided I wanted to do it, like, 8 months ago. Well, you're landing jobs, so you're doing awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I've been really happy with that. Um, it's very feast and famine. So I got my first audition. It took me a little while, and but I got my first two pretty quickly with each other. Um, and they're very like, I might have been the only person that auditioned for them. They're just kind of when you start narrating, you're not gonna land a hugely popular series written by a popular author, and all of that. So I definitely was just trying to figure out the process and get my feet wet. So the first couple of books I did are a little rough and probably don't sound the best, but by the third one that I put out, I was doing better. And now these ones that I have that I'm working on, I'm starting to be really, really proud of my work. And so I've done a lot of learning this year. I think I landed a book in February that got published maybe the first week of March. And then I did the second book either at the end of March or maybe first couple of days in April. That's when it got published. Third book was May. And then in June, that author the author of my third book, Nick Collier, he hired me to do another book that he wanted to bring to audio. He's taken a backlog of books that he's written even back in the 90s that he's turning into audiobooks now. And so the book I'm currently working on is the second book for him. Um, so I got that one in June, but I got nothing else in June. And then I auditioned for a bunch of things, didn't get any of them. And then the first week of July, I landed like four different books. So it's very feast and famine. You'll go a long time with nothing, and then all of a sudden, you've got tons of work. And luckily, I have it spaced out to where I'm super busy, but I didn't have to say no to any of it. And so I'm really excited about that. I close my computer, lock the front door of my office, walk the half block to my parking lot, and get in my newish Toyota, then spend the rest of the day fighting traffic and dealing with the highly frustrating bureaucratic maze of IBM's head office. It's late in the afternoon before I've penetrated IBM's impenetrable wall of endless office desks. This author has a lot of really long sentences. It's late in the afternoon before I've penetrated IBM's impenetrable wall of endless office desks and computer filing systems, then rows of filing cabinets to finally arrive at 1948, buried deep in the basement amongst dust and cobwebs, where, lo and behold, in a ledger and list of entries next to the very number she gave me is the name Donna Hendrick. I get out my camera and take a photo of the entire list of numbers, close the filing cabinet door, and take the elevator back up to the ground floor, then out the monster glass doors, down the long flight of steps into the parking lot, and to my car before I can take a real breath. I call Miss Hendrick from my office first thing the next morning. When she answers, I say, "Ma'am, I checked on your IBM shares and they are valid." "Oh, good," she says. "How do I cash them in?" "All of them?" "Yes. Can you help me do that?" "I can, but the result of that is you will have an inordinate amount of money that can be taxed. If you want, we can cash one of them in, which will be over $1 million, and wait to see how the IRS reacts to your capital gains. During the time it takes for the government to bill us, I can find other avenues to invest your money so they don't take everything." That ended on like almost a question. During the time it takes for the government to bill us, I can find other avenues to invest your money so they don't take everything. They can't take everything, can they? I'm sorry, you're right. Not everything. A goodly portion of half. Which would leave me with half, is that correct? Yes, ma'am. Okay, let's cash in 5. What do we do next? Hello?
Hey,
Hey.
I'm heading home for like
poop. Hi, Danny. All right. Here we go. Last chapter. I wish I could do like a party emoji or something going on. But I don't know how to do that. Unless it was a different effect. But I don't think I can change those right now. Okay. Hi, Danny. All right, final chapter, which is exciting. Okay. Chapter 14. Return. I carefully close the little red book. I'm thinking for the very last time, but nothing happens. At least I think nothing. I look around. The sun is still setting into the Pacific. The room still exists. I open and close it once again. Still nothing. Did I go through this whole scenario to this end and nothing? Am I destined to live the rest of my life here in 1999? Will I ever see Frank again? I open and close the book one more time, but nothing. Damn, I say aloud and release my death grip on the suitcases sitting on the couch with me. All of this anticipation, all of this preparation, and it's not going to happen. I sit in the thought, exhausted with the journey to Elk, exhausted with the entire last 6 months since I found this damn book. The sun finally takes its daily dive into the Pacific. I get up and reopen the curtains just as the sun. Hi, Margaret. I get up and reopen the curtains just as the sun touches the water, lighting up the distant clouds, first into golden. As I sit back on the high back couch, I relax into its support. And watch the light show of the sun disappearing, turning clouds from golden to flamingo pink, then burgundy, and I doze off, trying to keep my eyes on the fading day. When I awake, it's morning, and I'm laying in the middle of a concrete foundation with cold charred lumber all around. I have soot everywhere. I look at my hands, and they're black with soot. I stand and look out at the ocean, then slowly rotate, looking for something familiar, until I spot the Elk store some 150 yards back from the cliff edge. I leave the 2 suitcases sitting in the charred mess, weave my way out of the maze of burnt lumber until I find a concrete walk leading to the road. I cross the highway and step up the 3 steps, then into the store. The young woman, wearing a nose ring and long dreads, sits behind the counter. She looks at me with surprise. "Are you okay?" I look down and soot clings to my dress, smudge on my arms, and my hands are filthy. I look at her. I don't know. I think I heard dogs barking and someone honking. Oh, UPS. Okay. Alrighty. Let's see if it picked up UPS. I look at her. I don't know. She comes out from behind the counter. "Are you hurt?" "I don't think so." She walks up to me. "We need to get you cleaned up." She motions. She motion. Did it again. She motions for me to follow her to the restroom, and I look in the mirror. I'm covered in soot. What happened to the Seabreeze Inn? She turns on the sink and pulls a towel from a hidden cabinet. "You need to wash your face first." I look at my face, and streaks of black run from my chin up into my hairline. I take the towel, wet it, and wipe my face. Behind me, I hear the front door open and the clunk of boots on the wooden floor. The young woman says, "Go ahead and get cleaned up. I'll be back." I turn to her and blurt out, "What happened to the Seabreeze?" "It burned down a few months ago. I'll be back." As she leaves, she closes the door behind her, and hanging from a nail on the door is a calendar with a photo of the Golden Gate Bridge. Below the photo, in bold type, it reads, January 2024. Woo! That stinks. Okay, scan this. Shorten those. Booyah. Control save. Yeah. Now, I need to make sure that we have closing credits, which we don't. Did I already do a retail sample also? Let's see what's in there. We got opening credits, chapter 1, chapter 2, and retail sample. Okay, so that's done. Okay, so now I just have to master. Okay, I just got to produce and upload, produce and upload. Here we go. This is my favorite part. So we need to start with, get rid of these. And let's look at Chapter 3. To do the pickups. He's already approved chapters 1 and 2. And now we got to do chapter 3 through 14. Produce or do pickups, produce, and upload. So I'll start doing those. And I should have all of them uploaded by tomorrow. So what I need to do is take this off real quick. And we're going to go up. What if I want okay. What I need to do is okay. Now we got a Okie dokie. Here we go. Chapter 2. Chapter 3. Chapter 4. That was chapter 6. Now we need to mark chapter 7 again. Chapter 8. Chapter 9. Ten. 11. 12. 13. 14. All right. Let's see